Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. This video will be first posted on my Patreon page for those who have joined and become patrons. You have a week before anyone else can see it, and this is because you have joined my Patreon. I appreciate that, and I'm doing this as a perk for those who join. You're gonna get unique first come content. You'll be the ones who get to watch it first. No one else will until about a week from now. So I hope that you enjoy this, and thank you so much for becoming a patron. Bye-bye. Hello once again, Jose Rodriguez. It's been ages since I do a video down in my work area, but I have to show you guys what has just been developed by the people from QImage. You know who they are. DDI software, something like that. I'll put the link at the end in my descriptions. They have developed something that is absolutely groundbreaking. Now, as you all know, when you print a color photograph, a digital image, and you print it through a inkjet printer that is meant for printing photographs, you need some sort of help to tell the printer with that specific set of ink colors how to interpret the millions of colors that your image may contain with just a handful of inks. And so that tool or that little gimmick is called an ICC profile. And when you buy papers from companies, they will provide you with ICC profiles. Sometimes you just have to go to their site, their website, and actually search for them and download them. When you install, say, an Epson or Canon printer, it will install ICC profiles for you, but only for their media. When you're using someone else's media, they recommend to just pick a similar type of paper. If it's a glossy paper from XYZ company, they will tell you to pick an Epson glossy paper, and they will specify, or a luster or a matte, whatever it may be, the closest match to their paper. But you will be using their ICC profile. Well, what if I want to produce my own ICC profile because, say, the paper that I just purchased, that company did not produce any ICC profiles for my particular printer. And I'm just going to show you this paper right here. I went to my back room. I'm cleaning up right now. Jet Print Photo Premium Photo Paper. I don't even know what this is. I used to collect papers by the hundreds back in the day. So let's see if we can make a profile for this and do it super cheap. You do not need one of these instruments. This is $1,500 worth of tech right here. It is an X-Rite i1 Pro 2. I'm going to go ahead and plug it back in because who knows, I may someday use it again. You might be asking, what the heck are you talking about? Well, believe it or not, we're going to be using this printer back here to produce that profile. The printer, its scanner, its built-in scanner, and the software called Prism. If you purchase it right now, it will run you, I think it's like $33. And that software by itself with this scanner can produce a profile that matches or maybe even a little bit better than that instrument, very expensive instrument, can produce. Let me show you what you normally have to do. Okay, we'll be right back. This is one of 3 sheets that you would have to print through the spectrophotometer's software, and then you would let it dry. you have to use specific settings, basically not allowing the printer driver to control color in any way, shape, or form. The application that generates this image will also not introduce any kind of color changes or any kind of influence to this raw image. So it will print it, you then dry it, and then you scan each one of these little squares one by one. And maybe half an hour later, you are done scanning, and now you're going to go ahead and produce the profile. That will take several more minutes, and then you give it a name and you save it. Well, that's the way you traditionally create a profile. We're going to use a really revolutionary method here, and we'll go ahead and jump right into it right now. Now, it appears that this paper that I'm going to be testing, the Jet Print Photo Premium, is a very glossy paper. I'm going to go ahead and load a sheet of this on my 8550, and I'll save the next one for a test print that we will create and see how well this process works to create a profile. Now, what I need to do, I need to load that file, and that file happens to be in my desktop at this point. Right here in this folder, Print Prism Scans. And now this is the file that we want to print. It's called printer target dot or dash 41, and it's a TIFF file. Now, we need to set our printer for this job. So we're going to go ahead and choose, that's a very glossy paper, so we'll choose Ultra Premium Photo Paper Glossy and click on print. And by the way, we're using QImage Ultimate because it really is the best software to do this with. The reason being is that we need to do this without any color management whatsoever. I'm going to click on it and make sure that I'm not cropping it, like so. So now we have the complete image ready to be printed. And here comes the most important point of this whole operation. Go here, printer profile. We don't want anything off. Click off, and now this image will be printed by the 8550 without any kind of manipulation or influence from either identity, meaning the printer driver will not add any kind of color management, neither will the QImage application. Now we can double check that. We'll go to properties. We'll look for our printer. Here it is, 8550. More options, advanced. And right there you can see no color adjustment. That is set automatically by QImage for you. There's no need to worry. So this is ready to be printed at this point. I'm going to click. It says driver scaling detected. That's fine. Click and click. This will now be printed onto that paper, and then we'll let it dry. You're supposed to let it dry for several hours. So what I will do is I'm going to pause here and then come back after that time has passed, and we'll go ahead and scan it. Okay, as you can see, it has begun to print. Now, I was looking at this a little closer. Each one of these rows contains something like 110 each. So that times however many rows are across gives you an idea. I think it's 6,000 something patches is what he told me. That is Mike Cheney, the creator of this amazing software. Okay, so I have gone ahead and closed QImage. We don't need that anymore at this point. We're going to, once we get this printed and dry for sufficient amount of time, it has to be dry because inks do change, values do change as the drying process takes place. And this maybe cannot be seen by the human eye, but it can actually be measured with a spectrophotometer. There are changes in the density and colors of these patches. So we want to get it to the point where it no longer changes. And that's where we know it has reached that maximum point where no more changes will take place. So we will be right back. I'll show you what that looks like once it is printed. And here is the resulting print. I need to let it dry because this glossy paper apparently has a type of a coating where the ink takes quite a while to dry. So I gotta leave it undisturbed until it's fully dried. I'll be back later and we'll proceed with the scanning operation and then the creation of the profile. Then we're going to go ahead and test that profile, printing a standard image as well as our normal everyday images that we love to print. So we'll be back when that is done. I'm going to go ahead and open up Print Prism, and this is all it is. Now, you require a scanner. The printer that I am using happens to have a scanner that the creator of this software has already calibrated to work with it. Okay? Now, there are several other scanners that are available, and there will be more scanners, especially standalone scanners like the Epson Prism V series, which for me is one of the best there is. So we'll just go ahead and click here. When you install this, the program will install a file, an image that contains several thousand little color patches. And that's what the software will rely on after you scan that print to determine if the combination of that printer, we're going to use the 8550, but you can print that with any other printer you may have. Okay, you just need a scanner that has been calibrated for this software, and the 8550 happens to be that one. Also, the G600 from Canon also has a built-in scanner. Now, let's go ahead and select the Epson 8550, and I'm going to go ahead and begin. So the more I look at this print, this paper seems to be a older style of inkjet paper that was designed for earlier types of ink formulations. It is what I normally call a swellable coating type paper. The little squares with their little borders around them, they almost look 3D. They look like a bas-relief. And so right now it's dry, but it took a long time to dry. I will continue and make the profile, but I'm probably not going to enjoy printing out this paper too much. I'm just doing this as a demonstration that even on a weird paper like this, you can produce a profile. And the results that we get will tell the story. If we get a very neutral result, especially the standard image, that's what I'm looking for, then yeah, even something as weird as this paper can be profiled. I would recommend, of course, on regular, more up-to-date papers. Again, I was going through my back room trying to find something to work on. We're going to go ahead and place this on our scanner. Just try to get it as centered as possible. By the way, we trimmed the edges. There are some trim marks that are included in the image. We're going to go ahead and open up Print Prism, and we'll proceed with the scanning process. Okay, I think you can see me as well as the Print Prism user interface. So we already chose the printer with the scanner that we're going to be using. And simply you can do the selection if you haven't done so, like we did earlier, and then we're just going to go ahead and proceed with the scan. And we're going to get this window. Now make sure that you don't have thumbnail selected here. Just make sure you want to have the whole area. Okay, so do not select that, otherwise it'll just crop it, and we need to have it complete selection of the whole scanning area. Now here is our scanner. Don't worry about this. Don't even look in there. Make sure that you are in photo mode. Make sure you are scanner glass and reflective, color, and 300 dpi. Now, color management. Make absolutely sure you are on none and not color control or ICM. None. Make absolutely sure that it's always on none. It should remember those settings. Now, this newer version is going to allow you to do 3 scans which are stacked on top of each other, basically. And what that means is that, for instance, if I was using the spectrophotometer, the expensive one, it will do, as I am traversing across a row of color patches, it is scanning at 200 bleeps a second. So for every second, it's taking 200 samples of whatever patch it happens to be over at that point. So in order to get that sort of level of accuracy, we have to do the triple scan. And the way we do that is simple. Just click on scan. We'll let it do its thing. And here it says scan stacking. Pass number 1 captured. Making an optional second and or third pass can improve scan quality. If you choose to make another pass, prior settings should remain in effect. So simply leave the target in the same position. In other words, do not open up the scanner lid and try to move it. Don't do that. Leave it alone and press the scan button again. So let's make a second pass. And scan. And again, the same thing, we're going to do the third scan. So this is simulating the multiple scans that the spectrophotometer does per color patch. It does maybe 30, maybe 40, depending how fast you run the scanner across that row. You have successfully stacked 3. Now we're going to give it a name. JetPrint Photo Premium. Okay, JetPrint Photo Premium Glossy. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Save it. And here it is right here. Now it says unable to determine scan orientation. That's fine. We'll use the rotation tool. And I think it's because I didn't trim it beyond the yellow dash marks. But I'm going to go ahead and just paste that name here. And then we're going to transfer it over to the folder where the profiles are kept in my Windows machine. So there we go. Now we're just going to go ahead and come over here, and it's a little crooked. And then we're going to detect the corners. Unable to find the corners. Okay, we have to do this manually. I'm glad that happened. Normally it detects all of the little patches and places a little tiny white square basically around the center of each of those little patches. We're going to do it by hand. So we're going to click on this corner here and see that little indicator. We're going to find that corner and click. So now we have placed it. We're going to go to the right, and yeah, it's crooked. That's my bad. Click on this one, bring it over, and light it up as best as we can, and there we go. The bottom one, bottom right, and again the same thing, like so, and then the one on the lower left side, and I'm going to put it right there. There's a little red indicator right there. Okay, now it's going to go ahead and locate all of those little spots, and there we go. So we're going to scan to the right, and yeah, you see the little white selectors. They're all there inside each one of those squares. So we are good to go. We're going to look at all of them, and they are all inside. So that's good. That is correct at this point. So now we can go ahead and perform the actual profile creation. Okay, so every one of those thousands of squares has an indicator inside, meaning that it's going to take a reading from each one of those central areas of each one of those squares, and that's how it's going to determine how to create that profile. It's going to look for errors in reproduction, and it's going to compensate for those errors. Create profile. It's going to take a few minutes to do that. You could imagine all of the computations that are taking place right now. It's quite incredible. Also, we have an option where we can keep it neutral and normal shadow detail or boost shadow detail. Say you want to increase shadow detail, say the first 10 or 15 steps of a black to white ramp. You want to make them more, separate them, in other words, more. You can use boost. If you want a warm type profile that will make every print you make a little bit warm, I'd rather keep it neutral and do the warming up, if you will, by myself. in Photoshop or in QImage. We'll continue to let the process go, and then we'll look in my color folder to make sure the profile is actually in there. And then we'll go ahead and open up QImage once more, and we'll print a standard image, and then we'll do an image from our own collection and see how that comes out. I was looking for a date on the box, the packet of paper, but it didn't have one. I wanted to know exactly how old this paper is. It might be around the turn of the century, maybe 2002, 3, 4, 5, around that area, when inkjet printers just began to emerge. Okay, so that's it. Let's go ahead and close that. We no longer need it. I'm going to go ahead and go into the color folder, and right on top, Jet Print Photo Premium Glossy. Okay, we are good. Let's go ahead and open QImage. I have a sheet already loaded, so we'll go ahead and print that standard image. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do a couple of 5x7s. So we'll just use one sheet. Otherwise, it just takes too long. Okay, so we'll look for our standard images, and those are located in my pictures folder. And test images. We'll do this one. And then let's see what we can print. We'll just look for one of my ones that I have on my desktop. We'll do this one. Again, it's also AI generated. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to remove this option off. We have to actually print with a profile now. We're going to use the same paper choice that we use while creating the color patch print. That is imperative that you do that. So we're going to browse for a printer profile, and simply we're just going to pick the one we just made. So I'll click on the date, scroll down to the latest date right here, and there it is, Jet Print Photo Premium Glossy, and open. Okay, and print. Now we're looking to see that this is printed correctly. I want to be able to see maybe, I don't know, the first several steps here. Notice this goes from 2 to about 24. Now I want to at least be able to detect maybe from 6 and onward. Sometimes I actually can see number 2, but that's usually if I backlight the actual print, which you're not going to normally do in a regular environment, of course, but you're really looking to make sure that there was the blackest black is black, and then the next step up you can actually see, which means that, of course, if that also happened on the highlight side of the scale, then you have as wide a dynamic range as you could imagine. Okay, normally you will have maybe the first 4 or 5 steps blocked, and you may have a couple of the highlight steps become white. It depends. What we're also looking for is a very linear neutrality. So from here all the way across to white, it should look neutral gray. It should not change in hue. These colors here are all out of gamut, so they're not going to print the way you see them on your monitor. And of course, your monitor better be calibrated. We're looking for a good, realistic red. Again, there's all common photographs here. We're looking at the little kids' faces, making sure that they don't have bad sunburn or they're greenish like little Martians. You know what I mean. We're looking at the still lifes here, and also the gradations here or the transitions. We're looking to see that there is no banding from the strongest color to black or the strongest color to white or whatever. You want a transition that is smooth. And then we'll look at this and see what we can determine. Again, I don't think we're going to be printing much on this paper. I don't think it's really made for modern inks. We'll be right back as soon as this is out. All right, and here I am with the results. I don't dare touch the printed area, but as you can see, and even though my camera may not be able to show with great accuracy the results, what I'm seeing here is as good as I can possibly imagine. This is absolutely neutral. This is absolutely linear. No change in tonalities. And I really do not see any kind of banding or any kind of issues with the transitions. You see the babies, they look normal. The strawberries look like you want to eat them. And this photo here looks pretty much identical to the original image, and it is beautiful. Again, like this paper is really not suitable for today's printers. You can see right here, this angle, I'm getting a lot of the light from that unit over there, and you can see how beautiful that standard image printed. And that's really the goal. If you can get a standard image to print this well, that means that your other images will print faithfully. In other words, if the standard image result matches what your monitor is showing, that means your monitor is also properly calibrated. Okay, you need to have that display it to you as neutral as possible, and then the results on print have to also match that. Now let me just, I'm curious, I need to see if I can backlight this. You're not going to be able to see this, but I'm going to do that right now. Okay, I can barely see the 4. So that is actually truly excellent. That is really, my auto exposure keeps changing here. So yeah, and this was done, and we'll discuss how much would this have cost. So say you already have an 8550, okay? $33 will get you going. You'll be able to then create profiles. Outstanding profiles, by the way, okay? For just about any current modern paper that you can run across. Maybe they don't have profiles. Say if all you have is an 8550, they don't consider that as a proper photo printer. They may not offer ICC profiles for it, but you can make them yourself, and it's easy as pie. Again, all you have to do is print, use QImage, get QImage, by the way. There is an affiliate link on the app that I have on the video description. Get QImage, use my link, get a 10% discount. Once you have QImage, you are ready to roll. Okay, you can print all your images through QImage. Either export from Lightroom or Photoshop directly over to QImage. I don't use Lightroom to print. I don't use Photoshop to print. I use QImage to print. It's simply better. And then you create your chart on that particular paper you want to make a profile for. Try to choose a paper type on the driver of the printer you are generating that chart with. So if I was going to make one, say for instance for the Pro 1000, I would have made it over there, and I would have used the Pro 1000 driver, picked a paper that matches the surface of the paper I am trying to create a profile for. Glossy, glossy, matte, matte, luster, luster, semi-gloss, semi-gloss, like that. And so then you print that with no color management, and in QImage you just set it to off, print it, let it dry, scan it, place it in your scanner, open up Print Prism, and follow the same process. Now I had a few issues, but that was my fault. That's because I didn't trim it correctly and I had it crooked. So again, normally you would get automatic detection of the corners and automatic detection of each one of those little patches. And then you just simply hit the create, make sure you give it a name, make sure you send it over to the color folder as well. That's where the ICC profiles are housed, and you're good to go. And then in QImage, you just look for the profile, and it'll be the latest one you made. So in my case, I have over 500 in there. So rather than one by one search or use some kind of search category, no, I just click on the date, and it gives me today's profile, and I look at it, and it's the one that I just made. So I choose that one and I print, and that's it. You get that. All right. I hope you enjoy this. Again, thank you so much for joining Patreon. And we will be having many more unique, special little productions here for you guys to enjoy. I plan to do interviews with people. Okay, that should be very informative. And we'll have them here exclusively for you members for about a week or two before we send them over to the public domain, if you will, of YouTube. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. And as always, happy printing, everybody. Bye bye.